Welcome, food and fitness lovers, to Tina's Ageless Kitchen. Welcome, food and fitness lovers, to Tina's Ageless Kitchen. I'm Chef Tina Martini. You might know me as the Medicine Chef. Well, today it's fungus among us. Yep, good old mushrooms, and they're one of my favorites. I hope you like them, and if you don't, let's find a way to get you to like them, because they are magical. And I don't mean the other kind of mushrooms. I mean that they really have great magical medicinal properties. Now, this company, Fungus Among Us, and I want to thank them so much for providing such beautiful ingredients for us to work with. The great thing about Fungus Among Us company is that they're the only U.S. sourced organically grown mushrooms. They really worked hard on that, getting a regular, consistent source of U.S. grown organic mushrooms. And I really want to give them the proper applause for that, because that was a real undertaking. Never before have we had really great quality dried mushrooms. They've also got a truffle line and all kinds of great ways for you to get the benefits of mushrooms into your life. So let's look at some of the dried mushrooms that they sent to us. We've got a mushroom medley here, and then we've got all kinds of little oysters, maitakes. They've got dried porcinis, portobellos, all the great medicinal mushrooms. Now, the top 3 medicinal mushrooms in ancient Chinese medicine are the maitake, shiitake, and reishi. And we have 2 out of the 3 here. We have the maitake and the shiitake. Now, the shiitake really calms the immune system down. It really focuses on longevity, but more than anything, it really stops the binding of immune cells to our aorta. So mushrooms for 6,000 years have been revered for their healing properties and their medicinal properties, as well as being a favorite meat substitute for vegetarians and vegans. And everybody should be doing at least 2 vegan days a week, I think. It's just great for us to take a break from all the animal products. And when you can do great mushroom meatballs and things that your family recognizes and loves, that they're not going to know there's no meat in, well, why not? It's just a great break for your system. So let's go ahead and learn how to work with the dried mushrooms. So first of all, you're going to boil some water, and of course we always want to use good quality water. Bring that to a boil, and then put your dried mushrooms in a bowl and just put that boiling water right over. Now set those aside and get all the rest of your mise en place together. Now, thinking like a professional chef, we always want to have everything we need in front of us. And I know when you're watching me work, you see the plethora of things that I always have on my table, because we don't want to walk around and take too many steps. Remember, chefs, you want to take the fewest steps possible in your kitchen. All right, so we've put the hot water over the mushrooms, and we just let them sit and kind of soak and absorb the water, rehydrate, and then what you can do is strain that liquid off, and as you can see, it creates a beautiful broth. Now, why would we throw this away, chefs? It's nothing but great mushroom flavor, so we want to add that to rice or any of the grains that we may be working with. All right, I've got my food processor here, and we're just going to open that up and start putting some of our mushroom meatball ingredients in. So I've already hydrated these, and I've got the portobello, I've got the shiitake and the maitake here, and I'm just going to put the rehydrated mushrooms in, and we'll reserve that liquid for later. We can make a beautiful gravy or a sauce out of it. All right, I've got a little bit of the gluten-free panko crumbs, and that's going to help bind the meatball just a little bit. We don't want to use too much of that. You don't want it to be sawdust like in nature. You want it to be really moist and have that firm quality. So this is going to help absorb a little bit of the liquid out of the mushrooms. And gluten-free, of course, it really just calms down that phytoestrogen. So again, it's good for everybody to do maybe 1 to 2 gluten-free days a week. All right, I've got some nutritional yeast here, And I don't know whether you're familiar with this, chefs, but it is a very good way for vegans and vegetarians to get B12. This actually has all the B vitamins, and B vitamins really help us have beautiful hair, skin. They manage stress. There's all kinds of things that go on with the B complex, and you get all that in the nutritional yeast. Now, the nutritional yeast also has a great nutty flavor. So again, this is going to enhance the mushrooms and the meatballs even further and give you a more meat-like experience. You could use any kind of rice. I've got some organic cooked jasmine here, and I do like that flavor of jasmine. But if you'd like to use any of your favorite brown rices, and you could even use quinoa here. So I'm just going to put a little bit, and it is cooked, so it's a little bit sticky. That's fine. That's what we want. Again, a good binder. And then I've got something interesting here to share with you, and this is the Energy Egg Replacer. This is a great baking tool here, and I've just got the equal amounts of water. I'm just going to put that right in the egg replacer, and you just whisk it up and let it sit for a minute. All right, so you can see that it actually is the consistency of a beaten egg white, which we love. Anything that, you know, gives us kind of things that we recognize and are familiar with is always a good thing. All right, so we'll put that to the side, and then we've got our seasonings. Just a little bit of good quality salt, whatever you like, kosher, sea salt, and I've got a little bit of ground black pepper. Now, mushrooms, they have got that nice earthy, woody flavor, but we definitely want to pump them up with some spices and some herbs, so don't be shy on that. And I've got a little bit of olive oil for our good quality oleic acid. Now, oleic acid in olive oil is really what brings the inflammation down inside the heart, and that's why the Mediterranean diet is considered one of the healthiest diets in the world. So a little bit of our oleic acid in there, and again, that's going to help bind it. I'm just going to put a drop of our mushroom broth in just to double that mushroom flavor, and then we're just going to whiz it up. All right, and what you make is more of almost like a pate or something along those lines, and then you just roll it into your meatball, and as you can see, we've got the raw meatballs here, and we've got the cooked meatballs here, and they look like the familiar meatball. I forgot my onions. Let me go ahead and put in our allium compounds. A little bit of garlic would be nice here as well if you like. Now, chefs, remember, when you're thinking like a pro chef, you don't want to use the same ingredients in every recipe. Why? Well, all your food will taste the same, so that's why I don't use garlic or onion in everything, and sometimes I change it up and do something different. Okay, here we go. We're just going to whiz it up. And what, again, that makes is that more kind of a ground meat texture. And that looks perfect. All right, we're ready to mix. So just go ahead and put this out into a bowl or whatever vessel is good for you. All right, so you can see that we've got just the perfect consistency here. Let's move everything aside and get ready to mix. We'll put our finished meatballs over there. So just go ahead and put that out in your bowl, and that way you can press your meatballs together. Isn't this gorgeous? All right, so let's talk about more of the medicinal magic from our fungus among us friends, our mushrooms. Now, the shiitake really has a lot of special medicine in it. It's been revered for longevity, as have all mushrooms in Chinese medicine for over 6,000 years. More than anything, though, the shiitake really works with and boosts something called macrophages. Macrophages are the immune system cells that are responsible for identifying and clearing any potential disease cells. Now, we've got the healthy cells, and then we've got cells that maybe start getting a little sick and they start getting a little broken down. The macrophages get boosted by the immune system. They're actually immune cells, and their job is to go around and seek out those damaged cells, those sickly cells, and potentially cancerous cells. So yay to the shiitake for being the garbage collector and getting all that bad stuff out. We like to fortify our macrophages. All right, so I'm just going to make a little meatball here, and it's no different than working with meat. As you can see, you can just roll it right up and put it on the plate, get all your meatballs together. And then get your oil heating in your pan, or easier yet, chefs, just put it on a prepared sheet pan with parchment that's been sprayed with your favorite baking spray, and then just bake the mushrooms, and you can make your sauce while your mushrooms are in the oven. We want to really be efficient in the kitchen and maximize our time. All right, let's do another one. And then I'm going to go ahead and wash up and get these little guys cooked up, and then we're going to talk about some other ways to use our fungus among us. I'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Sarah Nicholas, host of The Story of Cooking, and The Story of Cooking is all about food, family, and stories. Every memory I have growing up and to this day is centered around a recipe, a family get-together, and of course, all family get-togethers involve food. This season on The Story of Cooking, we started out in Harlem where we learned about the birth of soul food. Then we took the subway to the Grand Central Oyster Bar located in Grand Central Terminal where Chef Sandy taught us all about oysters from the East Coast to the West Coast. Then we went to Saveur Test Kitchen where we learned what it's like a day in the life of working recipes and development for a major food magazine. Then we got in a cab and headed over for lunch at Lombardi's where I learned how to make pizza in a coal oven. Then we headed downtown to Delmonico's, the oldest restaurant in New York City, where they invented some famous dishes like baked Alaska, lobster Newburgh, eggs Benedict, and they even serve Abe Lincoln's favorite, their roasted potatoes. Then we were off on a ferry to Staten Island where we went to San Rasa restaurant. So if you've never had Sri Lankan food, I would recommend you go here because these chefs are really whipping it up. From Sri Lankan to Indian food, we headed over to Vali restaurant located in Queens. And then we can't forget about One If by Land, Two If by Sea, which is one of the most historic and romantic places to dine in New York City. So come join me as this story unfolds on this season of The Story of Cooking.
All right, chefs, welcome back to the Magical Mushroom Tour today in the Ageless Kitchen. And we want to thank Fungus Among Us for creating such an amazing product. U.S. organically grown mushrooms, and it's all the best medicinal ones. Mushrooms are terrific for you and your family. Now the cremini we have down here, and I've not talked too much about the cremini, those are the baby portobellos, and they're really showing up on the breast cancer front. We didn't realize that creminis had such powerful phytonutrients. There's over 15 different kinds of phytonutrients just in the cremini alone. So each of the different varieties offer a plethora of wonderful benefits for you and your body and your health, specifically the immune system function and always being connected to longevity. All right, so we made our mushroom meatballs and they're now browned, as you can see, and I just did them in a skillet with a little bit of olive oil, grapeseed oil, whatever you like, or you could just, as I said before, put them on a sheet pan and bake them in the oven. Now let's put it all together, but I have something really beautiful here to show you that I made with sauce to go over our wonderful mushroom meatballs, and it's a little striped bell pepper. If you've ever seen anything so beautiful, I just wanted to share that with you. It's just one of those great heirloom varieties, and again, beta carotene and much vitamin C to mend damaged tissue and oxygenate the blood. All right, I've got a sweet fire sauce here, and it's made with pineapple and a little bit of jalapeno. You can make it as hot and spicy or not. It can just be a sweet sauce if you like. Now the pineapple is loaded with vitamin C, it's loaded with fiber, it's loaded with something called bromelain. Bromelain is a very powerful anti-inflammatory enzyme, and it's found in lots of the tropical fruits. So we want to get that in as much as possible, and pairing it with the anti-inflammatory properties of the mushrooms, perfect pairing made in heaven. All right, so I'm going to put the meatballs over a little bit of jasmine rice, and again, you can do these with the sauce or without. You can decorate them any way you like, and it's something that your family is going to really enjoy and be familiar with. We want to give people what they're familiar with when we're making those transitions in our nutrition plan. All right, I've got a little bit of cilantro leaves here, and if you don't care for cilantro, then just use parsley. It's really great. It's loaded with a pigeonin, and a pigeonin, Harvard School of Medicine tells us, just may be the cure for ovarian cancer, one of the toughest cancers out there. So I'm going to load this up with a little bit of cilantro leaves, and it makes it look really beautiful. You could dice this fella up and put him over the top too, and that'd be gorgeous. Let's spoon a little bit of our sweet fire sauce over, and I think you're going to find this to be one of your family's favorites. Isn't that beautiful, chefs? Look at the soy sauce there. And I use the tamari. I use the low sodium, gluten-free soy sauce. Now, if you're not doing soy, you could do a little bit of sesame oil in here, and it would be absolutely delicious. I want to get some of the real saucy sauce down on that jasmine rice. And of course, the whole grain rices are wonderful with lignans and all the hormone balancing properties, as well as fiber. And fiber, again, we didn't realize the properties here that have the great effect on the cardiovascular system. Mushrooms have always been looked at as, medicine for the immune system, and primarily that's where we left it. Now we know there's a whole world of benefits to these wonderful, magical mushrooms. All right, more Fungus Among Us coming up, chefs. We're going to do a quinoa risotto when we get back. It's going to be yummy.
Hi, I'm Chef Molly Bravo. Make sure you check out my new season of Organicopia, the Total Organic Experience, only here on Foody TV.
Welcome back, chefs. Well, we're going to do something a little different. Now, risotto is a classic Italian dish. It's a rice dish that's made with arborio rice, which is really a starchy rice. And it's made by stirring in hot broth and letting the starch build up so it becomes creamy and beautiful on the palate. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're talking about amino acids and all the great things that are in mushrooms. Well, quinoa is a high protein grain as well. So we're going to do a quinoa risotto. So I've got my burner here with the little bit of olive oil in it. I'm going to put some onion down. And of course, onions are really great for asthma as well as arthritis. They contain something called quercetin, and quercetin reduces trauma in general in the body. So really great. Again, we've talked about the allium compounds and their power, but the quercetin is also a very powerful phytonutrient that we find in onions, leeks, garlic, and that kind of thing. All right, so we're just going to saute a little bit of onion in our olive oil. Now, you don't want to put any color on it, chefs. You just want to get it so it's melting into the oil or softening, and that will happen in just a moment. And then let's take a look at our quinoa. All right, so I've got the red and white quinoa, and again, this is a more ancient grain. It's very high protein, but more than anything, it's really high in lignans. Now, lignans we've touched on before, and they have more to do with hormone health. But here's the thing about lignans. They really are very powerful medicine, and anti-inflammatory, as it were, for the lungs. So what do we get out of that? Some benefits with regard to asthma. Now, since it's such a powerful anti-inflammatory and a hormone balancer, we also get a lot of arthritic benefits. So if you've got some inflammation, if you've got some stiff joints occasionally like this old chef does, well then lignans are a great thing to get into your nutrition plan. All right, chefs, so we've got our onions where we want them. Now let's go ahead and add our quinoa, and I've selected this beautiful red and white quinoa. And of course, the more color, the more phytonutrients. So it's really easy. You don't need to go back to school and get your degree in nutrition. Just pick a really colorful plate. And I'm talking natural color, chefs, not dyes. All right, so we're gonna toast this up, and again, that's just gonna release that nutty aroma, the beautiful essential oils in the quinoa. Now, quinoa is one of our ancient grains. It's really great just for sustained energy. It's got all the amino acids, so it's a great source of protein. All right, we're just toasting that up. Now what I have here is a little bit of the mushroom broth. Now remember in the beginning when we made our meatballs, we started by pouring boiling water over our selected dried mushrooms, and then we strain those out and we save the broth, and that's what I have here. Now your broth needs to be really hot, chefs, so this is just coming right off of the stove, and what you're gonna do is ladle and stir at the same time. Now remember, chefs need to be good with both hands. So you want to ladle with your dominant hand and just kind of move the grain around in the pot with your non-dominant hand, and you'll get it just fine. Now you can see the quinoa is starting to pop a little bit, almost like popcorn, and that's what we want. Oh boy, it's smelling so delicious in here. Let's go ahead and ladle in some of our great mushroom broth. Beautiful. Keep stirring. All right, and a little bit more. Now what you want to do is not continue to ladle and drown the grains. You want to let the broth work in. And again, we've got the great mushroom broth. Boy, there's so many uses for that. It really adds a great layer of flavor. All right, so we've talked about arthritis and asthma and all the great things that lignans in our quinoa does. We've got all of our amino acids present here, so we're going to be able to make all of the protein that we need, whatever situation we might be in. And you can see that the quinoa is starting to burst and open up now, and that's just what we want. Now another creamy element of risotto is Parmesan cheese, but we're keeping it vegan today with our mushroom meatballs and our vegan broth. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of our nutritional yeast. Now chefs, we've used this together before, and this has got all of the B vitamins. It's got a beautiful nutty flavor that's reminiscent of Parmesan. So this is a perfect addition to your vegan risotto. So I'm just gonna sprinkle a good amount of that over, and then we'll go ahead and stir that in. And immediately you smell that beautiful nutty richness, the body that it's adding, and you can see the texture of the quinoa change almost instantly. It works pretty well, almost as well as adding cheese. Now, of course, if you're doing an ovo-lacto vegetarian nutrition program, then a little Parmesan is perfect for you. Whatever's good for you and your family, it's all got benefits. And remember, cheese does contain 15 nutrients. So it really does have a place in our nutrition program, and also the finer the cheese, the more quality nutrients are in it. All right, let's give this a final stir. It's getting nice and creamy, and we're going to be ready to go to the plate shortly. All right, now with the red color here, we've talked about things that are the color of blood, purifying the blood, and we use the red quinoa here. So we've got those beautiful anthocyanosides in the quinoa as well. And what that does is strengthen all of the vascular workings, and particularly it targets the vascular system inside the heart. All right, this is looking and smelling beautiful. I think I'm going to add just a little bit more broth. Now remember, the proper texture for risotto is going to be a creamy, more fluid. You want it almost to flow across the plate, but not soupy and not too liquidy. All right, one more round with the broth, and we'll put a little salt and pepper in, and I think we're going to be ready to take it to the plate. You can see the texture changing substantially and becoming more of a creamy element, and that's all thanks to the nutritional yeast. Now, B vitamins really have to do with our parasympathetic nervous system, and the nutritional yeast, as I mentioned before, contains the entire B complex. Now, that's really hard to find in a vegan nutrition program because B12 primarily is stored in animal muscle, and the way that it's created is when the animals are eating the grass on the ground, they're also ingesting a little bit of the dirt, which gives the beef or whatever animal, maybe a lamb, more of a quality mineral profile in the meat, but it also is the way that B12 is stored in muscle tissue. So if you're not doing animal products, or if you're reducing animal products, then this is a great way to get all of those B vitamins, pyridoxine, niacin, and all of that type of good stuff that helps manage and calm our parasympathetic nervous system. All right, so we've achieved our beautiful creamy texture that we're looking for, and there's one final component, our beautiful fungus among us. Now I saved some of the whole mushroom caps here for you to see, and they've got every different variety you could imagine. The people at Fungus Among Us appreciate all of the different varieties as well as you and I do, knowing that good ingredients are very important for our dish. Now the shiitake, of course, they're the macrophage booster that helps identify and eradicate any potentially hazardous cancer cells. We've got the maitake here, a beautiful immune booster, and they also protect the cells from any damage from free radicals. Free radicals are environmental pollutants that actually cut through the cellular wall and do damage to the cell, and when that happens, we set the cells up for disease to set in. So the maitake are one of the best to really help firm and seal that cellular wall. So I wanted you to see how beautiful. We've got a little bit of a portobello here, and so any of your favorites you can find online with thefungusamongus.com. Now I've chopped them up after I hydrated them, and I just can't get enough of these great mushrooms, so I'm going to go ahead and put in a whole bunch. Of course, you'll do what's right for your family, but this is such a great meat substitute. I just can't imagine anyone not loving this in their nutrition program. All right, a final stir brings the mushrooms together, and we're nice and creamy and nutty, and we're ready for service. So when we come back, we'll bring it to the plate, and we'll wrap it up with our beautiful friends at Fungus Among Us. All right, so we're back in the magical mushroom kitchen today. That's the Ageless kitchen, and we know that mushrooms are so greatly connected to longevity, so they are actually the perfect ingredient to be included in Tina's Ageless kitchen. Well, we've been on a wonderful magical mushroom tour today with our friends at Fungus Among Us. We did our beautiful meatballs here with our pineapple sweet fire sauce, and it's absolutely delicious over some gorgeous rice of your choice. Now the quinoa risotto, really creamy and beautiful. I sprinkled a little bit of our nutritional yeast over the top for our B vitamins and our beautiful nutty flavor. We've got the maitake mushroom, which is the big immune booster, and we've also got something else in our quinoa that we didn't talk about, and that's camphorol. And camphorol belongs in the family with quercetin. They're both flavonoids. So quercetin and camphorol really reduce trauma in the body and build the immune response to inflammatory. The good news is quinoa is a wonderful grain to add to your weight loss program. It really calms the inflammation that's associated with the accumulation of body fat. So more quinoa and we'll be leaner yet, even without exercise. You've got to love that. So I hope you enjoyed your tour today. We've got the mushrooms that your family aren't even going to know that the meat is missing, and we're so happy about that. We want to sneak in as much good stuff, and once they love it, let them know. It's from the friends at Fungus Among Us. And then we've got our quinoa. Now all of this is paired beautifully and works together well. I would suggest cooking up a little bit of quinoa and mixing it into your meatball mixture. There you're doubling your fight power and you're doubling your protein as well. And that protein comes in the form of amino acids. So when people say, oh, vegetables don't really have protein, that's true. It's not a complete protein, but it is the binding of all of the essential amino acids. The body does the rest of the work. All you have to do is sit down and grab a fork and enjoy. Well, I hope you're happy. I know I am, and I'm going to sit down to some Fungus Among Us real soon. Go online and order yours. They've got wonderful varieties. Well, that's it for today in Tina's Ageless Kitchen. I'm Chef Tina Martini. Here's to your health.
you.